What is the difference between ferritin and transferrin? That's what we're going to talk about today. I'm Dr. Michael Smith. I'm a naturopathic physician, and I measure both of these in lab testing often to help me understand what's going on with a patient. To help me talk about the difference between the two, I'm going to be using balloons, because I love balloons, to teach things. So both ferritin and transferrin are proteins. They're proteins, just like meat and peanut butter are proteins. They're proteins, but they're inside of our bloodstream to help do things pertaining to iron. We need iron. Iron is important. One of the main purposes that you may have heard about iron is that it helps transport oxygen in our blood. Iron is found in hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is on red blood cells, and the iron in hemoglobin attaches to oxygen and helps move it around. There we go so far. Iron is also used in different processes in our body, including things like making DNA and other things like that. So iron is important, and the way that our body digests and assimilates and metabolizes iron is important. Transferrin, I'm going to start with that one, is a protein that helps move iron from one area of our body to another. So that's why I'm making a car. This car, you could think about like an Uber or a Lyft or just a taxi or family member that's driving you to the airport, things like that. It's a vehicle that transports iron from one location to another. So let's finish this. Okay, so we're going to write on here transferrin. Got that? Transferrin. So this is the iron Uber, the Uber for iron. There's actually other molecules that transport other things, like copper. Copper has an Uber. It's called ceruloplasmin. That's for a story for another day. There's lots of other Ubers too. But we're going to talk about transferrin, which is the Uber for iron. So it picks up iron and it carries it through our blood. That's what transferrin does. Ferritin, on the other hand, has a different purpose. So we're going to use this balloon to talk about ferritin. Give me a minute. And there we go. We tie it off. And what I'm going to do is write ferritin on here. Now, for the purposes of this demonstration, transferrin and ferritin are about the same size. That's just how my balloons are. In reality, ferritin is about 8 times bigger as protein size than transferrin. Ferritin is a storage protein. So what it's doing, I'm going to put these ferritin, these iron atoms on here. Ferritin stores iron. It stores it inside of our blood. More like in our cells is what I really meant to say. It's also found in our blood as well. So ferritin is in our cells and other places, but it's storing iron. There's a lot of iron in and around here. Do you know how much iron there is in ferritin? One molecule of ferritin can hold about 4,000 to 5,000 atoms of iron. That's a lot. So ferritin is the storage protein, where transferrin is the transport protein. Transferrin, transport, ferritin, ferrin, Ferr, right here, ferritin, transferrin. Fer, F-E-R-R, is equals iron. You'll see that everywhere, chemistry, medicine, labs, things like that. But this is the transporter of ferrin, or iron. So that's the differences. Now, why would we want to measure these in lab testing? Now, if we have too much iron, it can cause problems. If we have too little iron, it can cause problems. Too much iron can cause something called hemochromatosis, or hemochromatosis, too much iron. Iron collects in our heart, in our liver, in our pancreas. It doesn't always do that, but somebody with hemochromatosis, it might do that. And when it builds up through our body's inability to digest it, or we're taking too much in, or we're not getting enough out, it's going to build up and cause some disease problems. Not fun. When we have too little iron, it can cause some restless leg syndrome. It can cause something called iron deficiency anemia. Anemia, there's lots of different types. Iron deficiency is one of them. Anemia is the inability for red blood cells to carry oxygen in our blood. We need oxygen. Our cells need oxygen. Our brain needs oxygen. Our heart, our muscles doing stuff. We need oxygen. We breathe it in, goes into our bloodstream, moves it around. If we can't carry enough oxygen, our muscles are going to feel weak, going to feel fatigued. That's why somebody with anemia is going to feel a little more fatigued than somebody without anemia. That fatigue is one of the symptoms of anemia. There are others as well. We can look for either too much iron or too little iron by measuring ferritin. It's one of the first iron lab tests that I run, and I run it fairly frequently because it helps me understand what's going on in the brain, in the heart, in the liver with iron. If something's off, then I might order a lab test for transferrin as well, or the total iron binding capacity for other free-floating iron. Like I said, iron likes to move in a taxi, in an Uber. Sometimes it goes and hitchhikes. So we can measure the hitchhikers, we can measure the Ubers, we can measure the storage protein. And that gives us an idea about what our body is doing with iron. And that helps us understand what's going on. But all of these are important. Transferrin is important. Ferritin is important. They're awesome molecules. They do cool things, and they help keep us alive. I'm really grateful for these, and I measure them all the time as a doctor because I can help understand what's going on with my patients. That's the difference. I hope you've learned something. And now you can talk intelligibly to your doctor when they run either ferritin or transferrin. You can know that this is the storage protein, this is the transport protein, and both are pretty awesome. That is all for now. Have fun thinking about iron.